He was just saying that because he was feeling bad, Maybe he wasn't even feeling bad. I don't know. I don't know what's in his head. But then eventually, I said, I told him, in any way, like, thank you for the opportunity that, you gave me to train with the team. But yeah, then eventually the conversation came to an end. So now I'm basically without a club, contracted to SuperSport because I had another year left on my contract. And so I go back to the MDC and I go train with them. Sure. Now, remember, we moved now to where the PSL team trains. So now I can see them while I'm training with the MDC team.
Wow. Let's talk about
I can see them,
Let's chat about there's two things that is running on my mind right now. Is when you receive the news that with the 6 other players, including the 6 players with yourself, where you were told you need to go to MDC. And the second one is now that you came back to the club and you were told you are not in the plans of the coach. Out of all these two, have you received an assessment, a written assessment about your capabilities, about your weaknesses? And lastly, was there any psychological support that was offered by the club? Because these are heavy news that you're receiving.
Of course, it's heavy news. And I'm giggling, not out of disrespect, but out of how is it that someone, like you, no disrespect to you, but I don't really know what you do and like how involved you are in football, if you're a coach or anything like that. But the fact that you already understand, the psychological side of things and how things should be done, it's mind-boggling how a professional setup treats players like that, Besides the way they treated me, they really treat their players really well. When I was involved, I was treated, well. You can tell by the way I told you about the earlier instances. But at no point was there any written, even showing on the board explanation to me what I'm doing that's not enough or what I can do to get myself to that level, what I need. There was no belief basically showed by the coach at the time that he sees potential or he sees a future. For him, it was, that's not the player I want, most probably. That's how I took it, that he just doesn't believe in me.
Yeah.
And to answer your question, there was no support from the club at all. No support. I was in the dark about everything because, like I told you, like they told me on the first day of returning while I have my kit on, ready to train with the team. That's when I received the news. At this point, I'm thinking in my head, but I have an agent that's very much involved with the club. And he knows so well about the new apartment, my preparations, me coming 2 weeks earlier to train by myself to get fit, to make sure that I'm ready. He knows all this good and well. And he speaks probably on a daily to the club. At no point did he tell me, listen, I've spoken to the club, they've decided this. Or I've spoken to the club and asked them, what's the plans for Darren? At no point have I gotten any support from the club at all about the situation.
Wow.
Eventually, when I got called, I was messaging the boss of the club, Mr. Matthews, and I arranged a meeting with him, to speak face to face because over the phone wasn't going to do it for me because I feel now that this is an issue of face to face.
Yeah.
And because it's very difficult to
this is a face to face. This is a meeting that must happen, and it's also very difficult to get hold of the boss because he's got too many things.
Yes, of course. And that I understood, of course. Eventually, then he arranged the meeting and that happened. And man, what I'm going to tell you now, I need to prepare myself mentally for this because I need to be very smart in the way that I say this.
Yeah.
To make you understand, but I feel, my story deserves to be out there.
Yeah.
And people deserves to know you know, the journey, and so
Yeah,
that the
no, be
young
brutally
boys,
honest, and I think that is why
yes,
we're having this conversation with you,
so
because
that, you know,
this is
the,
an educational session as well for current football players who want to make it
yeah,
big. They need to understand that it's not it's not as glamorous as they see it. You know, there are
no,
many
no, no,
challenges along the way. You need to be strong. You need to know exactly where you want to be and who you are.
yeah, of course, and like I wanted to say now, because they are up and coming players that deserves to get this little nuggets from what I'm going to speak about. And I always believe that you know, at some point, that this is part of my calling, part of my goal, is to help, you know, up and coming players, youngsters, and people in the sports business, to in the sports world, to understand and to know, you know. And so the meeting happens, and I'm sitting, you know, opposite Mr. Matthews, and eventually it comes to the point where he says, you know what, we've really tried together with your agent, you know, at the time, Mr. Glenn Vinken. He, according to him, he's tried all the clubs in the NFD. He's tried all the clubs in the PSL, and none whatsoever is interested in you.
Yeah.
That's what he's telling me face to face. No club in the NFD, no club in the PSL is even interested in you coming for a trial at all. And he eventually gets to the point where he says, you know what, I just think that it's a point of belief, and it just seems that the coach doesn't believe in you as a player.
Yeah.
That's for his team. So that's just an unfortunate situation that you're in. And yeah, eventually, you know, like I'm sitting there and I'm listening, of course, and to me it was very hard to take
Yeah.
those words, that there's no club in South Africa, basically,
Yeah.
you know, that is interested in me even coming for a trial, to prove myself, to show myself. Um, Eventually, then it gets to the point where he says, you know what, I was thinking that maybe football isn't for you. This is in the meeting. Maybe football isn't for you. Maybe you should try something else. Because at the time I was studying personal training,
Yeah.
and they obviously, Supersport agreed to pay my studies, because that was part of what I wanted in my contract, is that they pay for my studies. So that's what they did. So they knew that I had the passion as well for fitness, and, you know, things like that. And he said, maybe you should focus on that, and leave the football, you know, because I'm sure you could make way more money in that arena. And I can even connect you with some people that can help you in that arena, you know.
Oh.
And you need to look at this in a realistic way. You need to look at this in a business way, and it could be better for you, you know. Maybe you should just leave the football, because if you look at your career, you know, it hasn't really happened for you. You know, there's no real breakthrough for you. And I'm telling you, man, like, as hard as a knock that took in my heart. Think about it. This is the boss of a PSL club that you are at, that tells you that maybe football is not for you. Maybe you should try and venture into something different.
But
And I'm
has
sitting opposite.
but has the boss received your technical assessment, or is
To
this
be
a
honest
word
with
of
you,
mouth
I
kind
have
of
no
report?
idea how they do things when it comes to that assessment type of things. You know, I'm sure it was just Darren is one of the players that's not in my plans.
Okay.
I'm sure it was something like that, and that's just how it is. That's how it goes. Sometimes football is cruel.
Yeah.
Football can be cruel, you know. And I'm sitting and I hear this coming out of his mouth, and you know, I had this little smirk on my face when he said that, and it wasn't an arrogant smirk, you know. It was a smirk that, because I had a thought that went through my head, you know, and the thought was, firstly, it was wow,
Yeah.
you know. I had never expected that a boss of a club would say that to me, the same boss that gave me a PSL contract, the same boss that showed the belief in me before, to all of a sudden say this. So I had that wow.
Yeah,
And then
isn't it a situation where a boss, because it appears to me when I listen to you saying these words, is that he also didn't know. Because if he knew what to say, it looks like it's quite difficult for this situation, for the boss and for the coach as well, to share the bad news and be as honest, so that you take that and then you shape your career in going forward, instead of making a decision about your career to say that maybe you should consider the following. Even though you had something, because I wonder if you did not have that qualification, what would have been your reference point to say this is the direction you need to take? It looks like nobody knew what to say to you at that time.
You must understand that a club like SuperSport, they've been for years in the football, top flight football, and they're a club that won many trophies, and they're a club known for trophies, winning domestic cups and also league and things like that. So they are a well-established club, professional, organized club. You understand? So at no point do I believe that none of them knew beforehand what was going to happen with me. That's just what I believe. Because if you stand as a professional club and you agree with yourself that you are a professional club, then you do and deal with things in a professional manner, right? So at no point do I feel like they had no clue what to do with me.
Sure.
And the fact that he told me that even he himself contacted clubs.
Yeah, this is now giving you a surety or confirmation that you aren't good enough. You're not good enough. Leave this career, focus on something else.
This is his advice. He said, I'm giving you this advice. This is his words. I'm giving you this advice, and you can take it or you don't have to take it. It's up to you. But my advice is to leave football, focus on your fitness, personal training thing. You got the qualification. He says, I saw the videos you upload on social media. Can see you're really passionate about it and you enjoy doing it. And I feel like you can really be really good at it. And for me, it was more like it's my lifestyle. I love being in the gym. I love taking care of my body because of my end goal. Not for any other reason, but because of my end goal that I have in my mind and in my heart, that nobody else knows, right? So nobody ever understood my journey. Why is Darren always in the gym? Why do we always see, videos of Darren being in the gym and doing this and doing that, doing extra work, extra finishing, all these type of things? Why is he always busy doing things and blah, blah, blah? But people don't understand your journey, and it's not their journey to understand. It's your journey to understand.
So,
right?
In
South Africa, for them, me being in the gym was like, I'm focusing more on that than football because I'm not playing regularly, so maybe I should focus more on football than the gym. But there was no point where I had more focus on gym than football. No, that was all part of a package of what I believed I needed to improve and to better myself physically and as a player,
And this is you having studied what you've studied. So you realize
to understand my body, to understand how the body works, to improve myself as a player, as a football player. That was my reason for it, And eventually, the meeting comes to an end, and I say to him, "Thank you for your words." I took it like a man. I didn't counter anything he said. I just listened, shook his hand, and I walked out. In fact, I then decided that we should come to an agreement where, I terminate my contract with SuperSport and I try and find something else. That's
because this is not where now you can even go back to the MDC. This is You've got it from the boss.
I
The
can
word
go
is,
back to MDC just to train because they had now the rule. It's an under 21 league, and at the time I was 22, 23. So I can't play, but I can go and train. He said you can train as long as you want at the MDC, but you won't have any game time. You won't be playing. And during my time after this meeting, I was training, faithfully with the MDC team to keep fit and just having trust and believe that God is going to come through for me. Eventually, like during this time that my agent noticed that I'm not in the plans of the coach, he started throwing out the acquisition that like maybe you should find a different agent.
okay. So your agent is telling you you should find a new agent.
Yeah,
Wow.
I should find a new agent. And I said, no, we're not
So
giving up.
so what are we
We're not giving up.
what are we talking about here? Is this man rejecting you, or he's saying he's not capable, or he's saying you need someone fresh to take you on a new journey? Is it dropping you, or is what's going on there?
No, I believe that based on him being rejected by clubs for my services, based on me being rejected by Supersport, he felt maybe that there's no future here with this kid.
Yeah.
So he should move on,
Yes.
right? And he threw that accusation like twice or thrice during our time together and during this time. And I told him, you know what? Giving up is not an option for me. I told him, keep calling. Keep doing what you're doing, and I'll keep doing what I have to do on the field in training and keeping fit. And something's going to come up, I told him. Eventually, like he did it again, saying, I think you should. I was like, no, we're not giving up. We're not giving up. Eventually, then he tells me, no, there's in Europe, because I told him, seeing that there's nothing in South Africa, start looking something for me in Europe. Look for something outside of South Africa, no matter where, even if it's not Europe, anywhere, somewhere outside of South Africa, because it's clear that based on your guys' feedback that there's no club in South Africa that wants me, that's interested in me. So look for something outside. He said, okay, I'll start looking. And weeks went by, and eventually, like it was just empty promises. Now I'll get back to you this day, I'll get back to this day. Nothing happens. I have to call all the time because, of course, now I'm concerned about my career. I'm and then
Time is moving, yeah.
eventually, and like I said, I did the termination of my contract with Supersport and all of that. And so now I'm blindly doing this, and in my head, I'm going to restart somehow. Eventually, then I called him. My dad says, call him, because we were driving on our way home, from a meeting we had with a guy for this European move. My dad says, call him and hear what he's got to say before we make a decision. And I called him and, how you doing? Well, blah, blah, blah. I said, like, did you hear anything back from certain clubs that you said are possibly interested and stuff like that? And he says, you know what? All these clubs, they're very concerned about your playing time for the past 2 seasons. They all of them are saying that you haven't been playing regularly, so they're not sure if they should give you the opportunity and all of that. And then he brings it up again. At this point, he doesn't know my father's with me, so I put it on speaker, and he says that again. So my dad whispers to me and says, tell him then, So then I say to him, you know what, Mr. Binken, you've been, bringing this up quite a few times, and you showed me that you've lost the belief in me. And I think that we should go with what you're saying in terms of we should move on.
Sure.
Right? So then we terminate our agreement, and that's the last I heard from you.
Let's chat about because we were talking about the coaches, the clubs, the bosses, and one of the major part in a footballer's career is an agent.
Yes.
So, you had to find it out yourself that you are no longer part of the long term of the business of the agent, because it seems like it's only when it's the good times that you
Mm.
are in business, and if times are difficult,
Mm-hmm.
it looks like you end up being neglected, and without you not even knowing that this agent is not looking for a club for you anymore. You are just parked on the side, and here you are sitting and waiting, hoping that you will get the call, up until you made that decision to call the agent and confront that situation.
Yeah. Like what I want like people to understand is that, and up and coming players, is that at no point should you ever put your trust in a man. At no point ever. Not an agent, not nobody, because they are just like you and me. They have skin like me, they have bones like me and you. They are equal to you. So that's what I've learned, and God took me through that to learn that you're putting your trust in the wrong thing, because man will fail you, and that I had to learn the hard way. So like I said, I take full responsibility for my career, and I've had to go through all of these things to get to where I am today. And I'm grateful for all these moments, all these coaches, all these bosses, all the clubs, everyone, agents. Grateful for all of them, because man will fail you, like I said, but God will never fail you. That's what I believe. And like I said, I'm grateful for all these things that happened, because it's because of these things, that pushed me, because that desire and hunger and goal and vision and dream that I had inside of me, through all of this, it never died down. With all these harsh words you heard about football is not for you and all these types of things, I had to take that as fuel and pour it over the fire that was burning inside of me.
Sure.
I could have taken it another way. I'm telling you now, I'm actually sad. There are so many players that was with me at Ajax Cape Town, talented players, I'm telling you, that's played with me in Amsterdam tournaments, in Amsterdam against Manchester United, Barcelona, played against the best clubs in Europe and did well against, showed much potential, talent. Today, some of them are working a regular 9 to 5 job. Like, my heart burns to see that there are many players that don't have the mental capacity. There are many that are struggling in that area, that maybe doesn't have that support structure that I had, that maybe doesn't have that self-belief, and that, that confidence in themselves, that with God by their side, they're able to do it. And so, like I said, yeah, like I'm very like sad about that, because I see, when I look back now, I see like where these guys are. Like, some of them I don't even know where they are. Of course, there are here and there some, like Jody February signed recently at Sundowns, and the goalkeeper, and players like Jürgen Sassman. I'm so proud of him, that's playing for Kaizer Chiefs, a regular left back. Like, things like that, Ashing Domingo. Like, for me, it's like these are players that took it, that took the opportunity that they had, and also they have gone through certain things and they pushed through, and then there are some that couldn't, which I'm sad about. So I want the people to understand that do not put your trust in a man, in an agent, anyone, because man is going to fail you, but God will never fail you. So yeah,
Wow.
the next topic.
Yeah. Look, I think we needed to have that conversation and
Yes.
understand your journey, and impart the knowledge to the young and upcoming. Um, Unfortunately, I always, because we cover a lot of amateur football in the
Mm,
Western Cape, and what we had conversation about is something that I have full knowledge of when it comes to development, is
mm,
that there
mm,
are no life skills for football players. Even at local football associations, even with the ABC Mutsepe League, even with the
mm,
SAB League, in all the amateur football structures, there are no solid or curriculum for life skills to prepare
mm.
football players for this journey. And
Yes.
unfortunately, this is a situation that most football players experience, especially those that you've asked now, where are they today? And some of them are into a 9 to 5 job, and talented football players that have been lost in the system because of rejection. And they
Yes.
couldn't cope
Yes.
with the situation, they couldn't handle it because in your first rejection, you could have easily gave an attitude
Easily.
towards a coach and towards everybody that surrounded you, and right there you would have been lost in the system. And how you come out of this situation and you land yourself now an international contract.
That's the thing. Like you mentioned something really good, that with from the first, disappointment and let down from a club or coach, or it's not about the disappointment, but it's about your next move, your next reaction. It's how you use that information. You can either use that information in a positive way, in a positive light, take it, take the useful information that could possibly help you move forward in your career, and take that information to, like I said, to help you move forward in your career. Or you could use that information in a totally negative way and allow it to affect you mentally, emotionally, and end up giving up on yourself. I believe that just because one coach doesn't believe in you, doesn't mean every coach doesn't believe in you. Now, my situation is a very special situation because I find myself in South Africa without any national team call-up at any age group, you know, and it's almost like impossible to move to Europe without these things. Playing regularly, national team call-up, stats to your name, things like that. It's almost impossible to go to Europe. I'm sure you understand that aspect of it.
That is impossible.
Exactly. And when I say my situation is special, I mean that not only did one coach, but according to the boss of Supersport and my agent at the time, that there were no club in the NFD and PSL. So that is, for me, that is, there were no coach in the NFD and PSL in South Africa that believed in me, you know. But to come back to where, just because one coach doesn't believe in you doesn't mean every coach doesn't believe in you.
Also
This is
depends on the validity of that report, because it's not
exactly,
written down as well.
exactly. And I believe that it takes one game to change your whole life. It takes one game, and it takes that one moment, you know, for the right person to be there at that the right time, to notice you and to take interest and to have belief and see the potential in you. So I believe that no matter what, every game has to be like a final. Every training session is like a final because you don't even know who's watching. Man, I realize in Finland, clubs come and watch your training sessions to see how you interact with your teammates, to see how you are at training. Are you focused on training? Are you working hard on training? Because before they sign you, they want to know your character as a person and as a player. Can you fit into our team structure? Can you bring something positive into our changing room? Are you going to be disruptive, or are you going to be a positive influence? They're interested in the person. That's what I've realized here, man.
Sure,
It's insane.
sure.
So at no point can you take training for a joke. At no point. Everything is it's work, and that's it. You work, you go home, you come back to work, you go home.
Wow.
So I believe that every training session, every game, man, you have to play it like it's your last game. Like it's your last training session, like it's the last day that you're playing football. That's what I believe. And like I said, it takes one person for that one moment and that one game or that one training session to see
Wow.
your ability.
Yeah. Let's chat about your transition to Finland. How did it came about, and
It's actually
mentally,
a very funny story, man.
looks like mentally you were you were quite strong because you came through a lot, and
Yeah,
the
yeah.
self-belief was there. And I think that's the most important thing, is self-belief and faith,
Hmm.
that is, landed you a contract overseas.
Yes, yes, of course. Man, it's actually a really weird, strange way. They say God works in mysterious ways. And while I was at Supersport in Johannesburg at the time, I was doing modeling on the side, um, just like for extra money, as a side hustle, I would say, like they call it today. And and there was this advert that they needed soccer players, but in the modeling industry. So my agency, like modeling agency at the time, then sent my CV through to this advertisement place, and it was the advert for, I don't know if you know, the Shell Helix Cup between Sundowns and Kaizer Chiefs.
Yes.
They
Yeah.
normally play like some charity cup,
Yeah.
and they needed to make an advert, to advertise this tournament or this cup game. And eventually, with like doing auditions and things like that, I then made the cut, to be part of the advert. And with the first day of the shoot, I think there were three different days I had to do the shoot. The first day, there were two boys, which I also give credit to for this move. Think about it.
Yeah.
It's a real crazy.
No, it's a small world. Believe you.
It's a real like weird story, but these two boys, two black boys. I'm gonna say it like it is. Two black boys that noticed somehow who I am, and they were like, "Oh, like, do you play soccer?" And I was like, "No, I just do modeling." I was very like private when people meet me face to face. I never wanted them to know about football. Of course, there are people that know who you are, but I was never gonna say, "No, I'm a soccer player," or I was never that type of person. Or I'm not that type of person. But then eventually I said, no, I just like, I'm just doing modeling and I play indoor soccer, for fun, and I enjoy it. And they were like, no, man, we've seen you somewhere. So I said, no, man, you probably like confuse me with someone else, man. And they were like, ah, okay, it's fine. Next day came and they were like, yeah, we researched you. They were like, yeah, we researched you. You play for Super Sports. And then I said, yeah, you're right. And then they were like, no, man, but why are you not playing? We watch your games. You're really good, my friend. Like you can score goals. We watched you play, but we noticed that you haven't played for a long time because there was a buzz about you, you know. And then I just said, yeah, like I just fell out of favor with the coach, and I'm not in his plans, So that's football, And I, just told them that, and they were like, you know what? There's this guy that we know he helps recruit players, to like overseas clubs, and he helps players go and take their dream, And I was like, oh really? But like when people talk like that, you never really think anything of it. I'm at an advert, at a modeling advert. Like I'm not even like thinking that this is a real thing. Anyway, he was like, even me, like I'm also planning on doing this move with him to go, but the only thing is like you have to have your own money for your own flights and stuff to go. So he creates the opportunity, but you have to get your own money together to go. So I was like, oh, okay. And at the time I was still getting paid at Supersport. So the agreement was that I'm going to terminate my deal, but they'll pay me for the following three months. So obviously I was still getting paid. And I thought, okay, this might be something, I could put this money to good use, Anyway, then he said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to message this guy and get this guy to message you. And you guys can, you can chat about it and see what happens. Man, that guy, he did exactly as he said, I got a message that evening from this specific guy, And the guy's name is Isaac. And he then messaged me and he said, hey Darren, thing he told me about you. I can't get to his name now, the boy's name, but he told me about you, and he said that you're looking to go overseas. You know, like what's your situation at that super sport? What's going on? Because I kind of know a little bit about you and stuff. And then I told him, you know, like this is my situation. I was honest with him. I told him like I just feel like there's nothing here in South Africa for me, and I really just need to go and spread my wings, you know. And he said, no, I understand. A week went by and nothing happened, you know. And I just popped him a little text, you know, and I was like, hey, like, is there any like update, you know of anything, you know, like, and then he said, I will let you know soon. Again, couple of days gone by. I messaged him and said, you know what, I'm going back to Cape Town because there's no point in me staying in Johannesburg. I terminated my contract, and so it's best I just go back home to my family. So if you ever need to contact me, just know that I'm the side. Cool. He said, no problem. Couple of days gone by, and he messages me and says, he sends a contact detail of a guy in Cape Town and says, message this guy. He's going to arrange a meeting with you to have a chat about the move abroad. Okay. So I message this guy immediately. And he says, my man, I did my research on you. I've asked around about you. And everyone that says things about you, most of them are saying that you remind them of Aguero.
Sure.
And he says, the window right now in Europe is that they are looking for players like that. Players with speed, players that can score goals, you know, players with good physical presence and things like that. And he says, so there's a possibility here that we can make something happen, you know. And so I took my dad with me, of course, to the meeting, and because I wanted to know that this is a legit thing, you know, that is not a scam or anything like that, you know. So my dad was with me, and you know, he could show us emails from clubs, big clubs. He could show us emails from Belgium, clubs in Belgium, clubs in Sweden, Finland, for different players that he's, you know, working with. And he told me about Yanga Baliso.
Younger,
I don't know if
yes.
you know Yanga
I know him.
Baliso.
I had a chat with him during lockdown, yeah.
Yes. Right, so he told me about Yanga Baliso's story and how he ended up in Finland and all of this.
Yeah.
Right, he said currently Yanga's now back in Cape Town, and he just recently signed with the Veikkaus League team, which is the Premier League team in Finland. And he just had 3 months in the 4th tier. He became the team's top scorer, and he helped them get promotion to the 3rd tier.
Wow.
And then signed with the Premier League team. Think about it, the jump from 4th to 1st,
Sure.
4th to top. Yeah. And I was like, wow, anything's possible, you know. And I kept in mind to not put my trust in man, because I learned the hard way.
Yeah.
So I kept praying about the situation. God, let this be legit. Let this be, you know, let your will be done. I'm not going to put my trust in this man. I'm going to put my trust in you. You're going to make this happen, you know. And eventually then the planning starts coming. And he says, there's 3 players that we're going to send, that we have chosen to send. You were the striker.
Yeah.
Ayabulela Kongobe.
Yeah.
You know him?
Ayabulela? Can't seem to recall him, but yeah.
Okay.
Where did he play?
And he was the captain of Steenberg United in the NFT at the time.
Oh, okay.
He was with me at Ajax Cape Town. He's played for Chippa in the PSL. He's played for Supersport in the PSL. He's been at Amazulu as well. So we met each other at Amazulu, Supersport, Ajax, you know, so we grew up together at Ajax in development. And Bantu Mzwakali.
Yeah.
He's the other player.
Yeah.
Who is now in Sweden. Right? So they said the 3 of you guys are going. You guys are going to go on trial. And you guys are going to have to, it's up to you guys to take the opportunity. We create the opportunity. And it's up to you now to show. So then, with his connection in Sweden, he then managed to get invitation from Young Guys Club, Mariam, to invite the three of us into Finland. The three of us then trained with Mariam for a week, and they eventually decided, you know what, guys, we don't have the budget for 3 foreigners, because there's a rule, you have to earn a certain amount of money and all these type of things. We said, no problem, it's okay, it's our first time in Europe. Then the connection that this guy had in Sweden said, Aya and Darren, I have arranged that you guys go to Ekenas for a trial, and I've managed to get a trial for Bantu in Sweden. So this is basically your last resort before your flight takes off back to South Africa. So now it's the final resort. It's do or die. So myself and Aya ends up at Ekenas, and we impress, and we sign there, and that's how we ended up staying in Finland. And Bantu was successful in Sweden and ended up signing there as well. And yeah, that's how it came about that we managed to get here.
So this was your last resort.
Very weird way of entering Europe.
Yeah,
very weird.
Because you were
But that's the truth.
you were in a modeling session and you meet people that linked you up with this deal. So it has a lot to do with being at the right place at the right time, and
yeah.
meeting the right people, even though you had no trust in what you were receiving. However, you took action, and you just prayed to the man upstairs to make it possible, and you are trusting him to divert the right thing to the person who's actioning your move. And here you are, Darren. You've made it now in overseas, and you get the contract in the 2nd division in Finland. And the adjustments, the environment, and I mean, we're going to chat a little bit later about your performance, which is quite impressive, looking at where you come from, and with the determination that you put yourself to get to the ultimate goal, and that was to get the club, get the game time, and so that, because that shapes your next level.
Of course. What was the question, sorry?
No, it's just that you got to Finland and you got the contract. You now have to adapt and you start working.
Okay, the adjustment, yes.
Yeah.
I won't tell you a word of a lie. When we entered Finland, it was winter. So of course they warned us about it, that it's extremely cold, and it has an effect on your performance. It has an effect on your body, and especially because South Africa, we don't know snow at all. And yeah, we had to really like be mentally strong, because I'm telling you, it can affect you to the point where you're like, hi boy, this is not for me. The snow and is not for me. And you can feel when you're training and when you're playing that you're not yourself, because your body feels different, like you're stiff because it's so cold, like your toes are aching, your fingers are aching, like it's a real tough situation to try and perform and show what you're capable of. Remember, you're on trial and you need to somehow make it happen that you perform under these conditions, Remember, you're in -10, -20. It's crazy, man. It's really tough. I won't tell you a word of a lie. Myself and Aya being together, it really helped a lot. We were able to speak to each other, to motivate each other, to remind each other of the goal, to remind each other of the vision of why we're here in the first place, And so that support that we had with each other was very helpful, of course, with the support of our families and all of that. And the transition was really big, but eventually, we adapted. After a week or two, we started adapting and we started getting used to the cold, and But it's a type of cold you don't get used to, man.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But again, like I said, you have to be mentally strong and understand that you're doing this for a reason, and you know where you want to be. So you don't mind getting cold for a little while. You don't mind it. And then yeah, the transition in terms of football wise, it's also different. And it's more, I won't tell you whatever, like South Africa, talent wise, they are here.
Yeah.
Talent wise, South
Yeah.
Africa is far above Finland
Yeah.
in terms of talent. But mindset and hard work is much to be desired. Because here they might not have the talent, the skill, what we have or what we know, but they have that mindset. It's a total different mindset. It's how can I say? It's the hard work, the attitude towards football. That's the difference, And it's more of, you are now in Europe now, the world of football, kind of, So you have to channel your mind that the way of things here is different to South Africa. You're not at home by your family now, where you can take a flight. If you're in Joburg, you can take a flight on an off weekend, visit your family. No, at no point your family is coming to you.
You are at
And then
work.
Corona made it even worse,
Yeah.
So it was a lot to adjust,
Yeah.
but we managed, we managed with the help of God, we managed with the help of our families to adjust. And yeah, it's really, it's been a good year for me personally as well.
Yeah. I mean, I saw some footage of yourself on your YouTube channel, because I saw you set yourself up with a YouTube channel,
Yeah.
banging some goals there. Are you quite confident now that you scored 18 goals in the second division tier, which landed you feel that
Yeah.
you find yourself in now? So was it easier for you to adapt when you started to find your rhythm?
I won't tell you whatever. Like we play a certain domestic cup called the Summon Cup. So that's almost like a pre-season tournament, but it's an official tournament. Like you win an actual cup, you win money and things like that. If you win that cup in the Vikos League, so there's the second division has a tournament, and then the Vikos League also has the same tournament. But when the Premier League tournament, the winner there gets a spot in the Europa.
Oh.
So it's an important tournament,
Yeah.
so to say, but they use it as like pre-season to prepare for the league, right? So we had 5 games to play in there, and I only managed to score 3. I wasn't happy with myself, and I wasn't happy with my performance. And it was a new squad, new young squad, and we were still building and all of that, And I told myself, you know what, you need to step it up. Mind you, it was winter, and so it was very difficult still to perform under the conditions. Like we played certain games like on snow, where they had to make lines,
Yeah.
like shovel lines, So like it was really weird and different for me, from to come from South Africa. We don't know nothing about this, and here we have to play on snow. How is it possible to play on snow? Anyway, eventually, the tournament is done, and we out of the tournament, and then boom, Corona hits.
Yeah.
And I tell you, it had a major effect, and I'm sure you know this, on everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody. And I had a chat with my new agent about the situation, of course, and he asked me, right, so what is Darren going to do about the situation? Because now for 90 days, there's no football.
Yeah.
There's no training. You're not allowed to train with teammates, with the coach, with the club at all. What is Darren going to do now? So I told him, you know what? I'm not forgetting my goal, because my goal is to be in the top league. So never mind the fact that for 3 months I won't be able to play soccer. I'm going to continue training because they made the field available for us and the gym. So what I did was I never rested at all. I won't tell you a word of it, like God is my witness. For that 3 months, I continued training every day on the field, with balls, with cones, finishing. Man, I even arranged with some of the players. We could arrange like 4 or 5, but with no coaches, to do some drills and stuff. And I'm blessed to have had players that are also determined and motivated to improve themselves and under the circumstances, and of course some days they were demotivated, and I just remained focused on my goal. And I was like, if you want to impress top clubs in Finland, then you have to do what you've never done before. You're going to have to work harder than anyone else on that field, anyone else in the room, anyone else in this league. And this is what I told my agent. I told him that it's going to have to show when the league starts. You see this boy, he didn't rest in the corona time.
Yeah.
This boy was working in the corona time. You know what I mean?
And
I told myself, I'm going to do that, For me, like, it was about me. It was about stats for me. Because that's what they look at here. They want to see your stats. Statistics and stats, it doesn't lie. The numbers don't lie. And I told him that by the time the season is on, I want to be a step ahead of every defender, of every striker, of every midfielder, of anyone in the league. I want to be a step ahead of everyone. So whether it's a turn that I make, anything first touch, it's going to be quicker than anyone else. So I'm going to train with the education that I have in personal training. I'm going to train myself to be sharper than anyone when the league starts.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I did. And God is my witness.
Yeah. Wow.
And eventually then now the league starts and I score on debut. And I said, now it's going to flow. Mm-hmm. And God just took me higher and higher from there. That's just the honest truth.
Yeah.
The window came about in August, September. Yeah. And I only had 7 goals at the time, And during this time, when I had like 4, when I had 5, I started speaking to my agent. I said, are you speaking to clubs yet? I was very motivated. I was like, are you speaking to clubs? And it's like, you need to have some ice in your legs, ice in your heads. You need to relax. Still soon. Let's speak when you have 8, 10 goals. 2 weeks down the line, I said, I have 8 goals. Right? Are you speaking to clubs? Relax. It's still early. Clubs will only start being interested, close to the end of the season. Keep doing what you're doing. Eventually, when I had 8 goals, then Honker contacted my club in the window.
Yeah.
Together with 6 other clubs in the top league.
Sure. So you're getting offers coming in now.
In the window from 6 other clubs.
Yeah.
And Honker was the most motivated and adamant team to show interest because they had offered the club to buy me, Eventually, we were still in contention to gain promotion, or we were in a promotion spot still, or to win the league or things like that. So at that point, I could understand, that the club had the belief that it's possible, something that I've tried to drill into their heads before the league started, that I want to take this team to the highest league. That was my goal, but they didn't have the belief, and they can vouch for that. That I showed the belief from day one. In my locker, in my changing room, I had written AIF, which is the club's name, Champions 2020.
Sure.
That's what I had written down. That was my goal. No personal goal. Of course, in my head, I had my personal goal. But also, I had to channel my mind in a way that I can't do this without my teammates. If my teammates don't assist me, I can't score. I can't perform if I don't get the ball from my teammates. I can't score. So that's also something that I had learned this side, that this is, as much as it's individual, it's also a team sport.
Yeah.
And you need the person next to you. And that was my main goal, is to help the team gain promotion, because I knew that if the team does well, clubs start watching your team, because now they want to know, why is this team doing well all of a sudden? Who's playing? Who's the players? Now they start watching. Okay, so these are the players that are helping the team perform. You understand what I'm saying? So then, yeah, to go back to Honker, they were showing, the interest, and eventually the club then decided, no, we're not going to let you go, and it's not going to be good for the supporters. It would show that we don't care, and to let important players leave. So we decided we're not going to let anyone leave. We're going to have to stay. And I'm telling you, I was very disappointed. The window closed, and I felt disappointed. I spoke to the boss of the club, and I asked him, why didn't you let me go? This is my dream. This is my goal to move up, and you knew this is what I wanted, And he gave me his reasons and everything, and I then spoke to my parents, and of course, like, I was disappointed, and I then told them, you know what, I need to snap out of this immediately. I have a game on Saturday. That I need to score in.
Yeah.
And things like this, if you look at football, and for someone like you that knows the football side of things, like in South Africa as well, when players hears, about interest from bigger clubs, better leagues, they tend to allow it to affect them mentally, and they start changing in performance-wise. They start changing in their attitude towards the teammates, coach, club, people around them that's been there for them. These things happen. It's reality. It happens. It can affect you. And my parents reminded me of that. They said, remember that you cannot allow this to move you away from the goal. Right? Now that you know there's interest, what are you thinking? They asked me the question. And I told them, you know what, Dad, to be honest with you, I'm now even more motivated to show what I can do, so that by the end of this league, these clubs are going to stand in a line.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be the one to choose where I want to go. And then he said, now that is my boy. He said, now go out there and go do your business. Go play for Jesus. That's what he said. And then continued to play. And, when I got to the point of 11 goals, there was a player that had 14, and I had 4 games to go. And I had to call my dad, and I said, did you see the stats? Because my dad kept, like, watching all the time. And I was like, did you see the stats? You see this guy, he has 14 goals and there's 4 games to go, and I have 11, 5 games to go and I have 11. And he said, I believe anything is possible with God. That's what he told me. And he says, remember where your trust is. And, like, for many people, like, that's not important, but for me, it was important for me. Because remember, Corona time.
Yeah.
I had promised myself that I'm going to be the best player in the league, that I'm going to be the one to kill this league.
Yeah.
And if my job is to score goals, then that is what I'm going to do. And I want to be the best at doing that. Eventually, I said, there's 5 games. If I score 1 goal in every game, I would have 15.
Yeah.
But it would take it for him to not score at all. Mind you, this is a player that scored about 6 to 7 penalties out of that 14. So half his goals was penalties, So, like, for me, I only had 2 penalties out of my 18. But at the time, I had 1 only, 1 penalty only. So I was like, you know what? I feel like I deserve this award, man. So I'm going to go work for this award now. And then my very next game, I score a hat-trick.
Sure.
Boom. 14.
Yeah.
I'm level with him.
Sure.
Next game, 16. And he doesn't score.
Yeah.
He previously played for this club that I played for. So he knows the guys, he started chatting to the guys when I had 14. And he messaged to one of them and saying like, can you guys stop passing to Darren? I want to win the award. Can you guys stop passing to that player? I want to win the award, And I reached 14, and next game at 16, I scored 2. And all of a sudden, he's not in the team, in his team, in his squad.
Yeah.
This player, he's not in the squad. Next game come, 2 again.
Whoa.
18. And for the next 2 games, he's just not in the squad. He was just missing in action. Nobody knows where he was, nothing.
So he lost concentration.
That's what people are saying. He lost the plot because you were coming, And I was just so determined, to win that award. And
wow.
I'm just grateful to God for that, that He made it possible for me, that He gave me the strength, to carry through. And I'm just grateful that I had an injury-free season. And I believe that my work during quarantine and Corona time, where I strengthened my body to endure, I won't tell you whatever. Like, of course, there were moments where the legs were tired, because I had played every single game, full 90. And the games were like very stacked up because we had to finish the league real quick because of, what happened with Corona and stuff. So the games were very on top of each other. So there were 22 games in the space of four months, I think.
Sure.
Think about it, 22 games in 4 months. That is a lot.
That's a lot.
That is a lot, And then, so the legs got tired, and I would, if I felt something, I speak to the club and I let them know, and I told them, listen, I feel like the best thing, because I had a bit of education about it, I said the best thing I need to do is I need to go for dry needling, like acupuncture or something for my glutes or my hamstrings, because I feel it's a bit tight, it's a bit heavy. They would take me, they would faithfully take me. They would book an appointment. I'd go, and I'd be ready for the next game, And I made sure that I was always 100% ready for every single game. Of course, there were 1 or 2 games where I didn't perform, maybe like because of the legs, they were tired, and the mind also got tired and things like that. But, like players, you are allowed to have a game where you are off. Even players like Messi and Ronaldo, best players in the world, they have these games.
Those games.
But reminds you that you're human. Those games remind you that you're human.
Wow, Darren, it's such a good story, and I'm glad that you've shared that experience and how it came about that you achieved it, and which of course led you to get now into the Premier Division in Finland. And what are some of your short and long-term goals, looking at where you are and looking at the bigger picture with the national team at the club level as well? Because you seem to be settling now in the sense of seeing your path and getting game time, sustaining yourself.
Yeah, to be honest with you, because of my experience in terms of what I've gone through, it's very difficult for me to set short-term goals or long-term goals or anything like that. Of course, you have goals and you have an idea of what you want to achieve, And like I said, because of experience and because of the lessons that I learned and that God taught me, I'm more excited, for what God has in store for me than what I have in my mind. Because for a human, there's limits. But with God, there's no limits. So with my goals and with my dreams, I might be limiting God in what in where He wants to take me. You understand? So I don't want to limit God in what He wants to do for me. You understand? So to answer like at least some goals, keep in mind what I just said now, that there's no limit to it, because anything is possible with God. And so my short-term goals right now is basically, to to get settled in at the club, which I'm currently, doing. This is what this month is about, because I was scheduled to actually go back home on the 2nd of November. But, the coach gave me a call and said, I'd really love you to stay for the month, and get to know the team and train with us and get to know the system and how we do things. And, and for me, that was very important. And I was so excited. And I said, of course, I'll stay. I'll change my flight, everything. Now it will be sorted. And, yeah, I'm just grateful, that they showed this much, belief and this much like interest and, wanting me to be a part, of the family. And, so yeah, it's just to get to know the boys, my teammates, and get them to know me, and get to know the club and everyone within the club. And in terms of next season, of course, I would love to improve on my stats, and of course, I would love to score as many goals as possible for the club, and to help the club achieve, the club goals, and just to cement my spot in the team and to get regular game time. And I want to be, an important player of the team, and with all of this, I feel like in terms of the national team, I won't lie to you. I'm gonna be honest with you. I was watching, in terms of who they're calling up. I kept watching, because I had that hope, I had that hope that maybe South Africa is going to start noticing me.
Yeah.
Maybe they're going to start noticing, and, it didn't happen. And I believe that God's timing is the perfect timing. And it's something that I've always wanted as a kid. Even right now, it's something that's burning inside of me. I really want to wear the national team jersey. It's something that I believe I'm going to achieve soon. And I believe that God is going to make it happen and not man. So I'm patient. I'm very patient when it comes to that. I'm patient and understand patience, because that's what God has taught me through my career, is patience.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's for the national team. Of course, I would love for that to happen. And that's one of my goals, for the following season, that I perform in a way that I get noticed and, obtain that call up. And, for me, it's, if I deserve it, then I should be called up.
Yeah.
If I don't deserve it, then don't call me up. So I believe that that's how it should happen. You should deserve to be called up. And however they do the selection, that's their doings, and I got nothing to do with that. So yeah, I'll keep my faith and trust in God, that God is able to do it, and He's done far above for me. The fact that I'm here is because of God. So I know that is a drop in the ocean. National team call up is a drop in the ocean for God. So yeah, and then
maybe
I would
before you move to the next point, without distracting you, the trail of thought, just to give you a fact, in 1996,
the year I was born,
the year that you were born, Bafana won a major trophy. That was the first and that was the last. So
yes.
Probably we're waiting for you to come through the ranks and perform that miracle, because Mark Williams, he still talks about 1996, and rightfully so, because that was the only time that we've achieved a major silverware.
And to actually come back to national team, a lot of people were saying to me, maybe it's because South Africa doesn't value Finland or Finnish football league that high. Maybe they don't. Maybe they don't value it that high. So maybe that's why they're a bit cautious when it comes to calling you up. And then Finland goes and win France.
Yeah.
And I think to myself, okay, I understand what you're saying. Has South Africa ever beaten France at any point?
Yeah, we did.
We did? When was that?
In 2010.
2010, we beat France?
We beat France in 2010, yes.
Wow.
And I think that was our last game. That was our last game of the tournament, if I'm not
Mm-hmm.
mistaken. But we did beat France. But I think they also were going through a difficult time. But we did beat them.
Yeah.
That will go
Mind
down.
you, aren't they the current world champions?
No, currently they're
Yes.
world champions. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Finland has won them. So for me, that just shows that is not like, for me, that is not enough that you say Finnish football is not, the
Yeah.
level that we maybe expect or whatever. But that's just speculation from people. But for me, that's not important. But I just thought that, throw that in there, that Finland has won France, the current world champions. And that was really major for the country, and, big ups to them. And then, for the rest of the goals that I have for the season is I really have a desire to win a trophy.
Yeah.
I haven't won a trophy in my professional career. I haven't won a trophy yet, and that is something really that I would love to achieve with Honka,
Yeah.
is to win a trophy, whether it's the league, whether it's domestic cup or anything like that. I would really love to win a trophy for the club, and yeah, and just take it from there, man. Like, honestly, that's exactly where I want to be.
Wow. Thank you so much, Darren, for giving us the insight into your career and your story. I know that the viewers will enjoy it, and especially football players who want to
Mm-hmm.
embark on this journey, because it's quite a challenging one. It needs
Yes, yes,
resilience, it needs hard work, it needs someone who's focused to understand exactly what their path is, and
mm,
to do whatever it takes to get to it. And thank you so much, man. Your story is quite fascinating, and it would be good. I know we can chat about that later on. That you give some talks, because
mm-hmm.
football players, they need to get it from a football player, and we've
Yeah,
seen stories happening, and people finding it very difficult to handle um,
mm-hmm.
these situations and losing focus because of
Yeah,
the lack of support. And sometimes it may not be the lack of support, but because that is what the industry is. You get sometimes good news, and sometimes you get bad news. How do you handle bad news? And how do you pick yourself up? And I think you've done exactly that. You've picked yourself up with your family and with your support structure, and then you hit the, you started to search and to find and look where you are now. And we're so pleased
yeah.
to see you, and we were so happy to see that story when you landed that contract. Um,
Mm.
yeah, we wish you everything of the best, man, and we will keep following
Thank you.
your story.
Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to share my story. And it's always something that I've really wanted to do, and I felt like this is most probably the perfect time to get the story out there, just so that it gives hope to, the up and coming players and people in the world of sports, to hear, it coming from somebody that's been through what I've been through. And yeah, as you heard, it's a hectic story, and I believe everyone has a story. And this is just my story that I have to
Ab-
tell, And yeah, thank you
Absolutely,
for the
man.
opportunity.
Thank you so much for making the time to chat with us, man. Thank you so much.
No problem. No problem.